So we will come to lying, I think. And I'd encourage you to do something a little different today, whether that be just how you position yourself on your mat. I'm going to try just putting a blanket or a towel under my head today just to see if that's going to give me a little bit more comfort as I lie here. So nothing changes until we change, right? So see if you can add something different. Maybe you bend your knees today. You don't normally bend your knees, or maybe you take your arms further away from your body, or just play with it as you come down, just to see, is there something that you could change in your starting position that would give you a little bit more comfort, a little bit more ease? So coming down, finding that position of hopefully a little bit of release to the floor, to your mat. And go ahead and just simply rest those eyes. You can close them if you like, or you can keep them slightly ajar, whatever feels good. And then just take a scan of your body, just checking in, seeing if there's any spots that need a little bit wiggling. I, for some reason, am connecting to my fingertips today. So I'm going to concentrate on opening my hands and making my hands nice and open. Those fingers not kind of crunched in little balls, but more just opened up. So find where in your body you feel like you want to, your mind's taking you there. So go ahead and just concentrate on that for a moment. And once you feel settled, go ahead and take a nice deep exhale out, just a nice releasing. And allowing a bit of an inner smile to appear, a smile of gratitude to yourself that you showed up today to do a yoga practice, taking care of yourself, connecting with yourself, and allowing your body to have some rest and a little bit of work later on. Just take a couple more breaths. And with each and every breath cycle, just see if you can sink a little bit deeper into your mat. And slowly bring a little bit of movement into those toes. Maybe the fingertips start to move a little bit. Might feel good to move your head from side to side, keeping your eyes closed for as long as you'd like. No rush. And then if you do have any props under you, I'd suggest just moving them out of the way now, just for our kind of first movement here. So I'm going to move my blanket away from my head. If you bent your knees, welcome to take those legs straight. And from here, we'll reach up as high as you can. The hands don't have to come right over the head, but just a really nice long body stretch. Let me emphasize the word long. Go really long, reaching the toes away from the belly button, reaching the fingertips in the opposite direction away from the belly button. Nice long, long stretch. Good. And then in this position, think about contracting as many muscles as you can. So we'll take a deep breath in. Deep breath out. And on your next inhale, we're going to tighten your muscles as tight as you can. So squeeze your buttocks, squeeze your fists, squeeze your face, contract as many muscles as you can. And then just simply release, exhaling down to the floor. Let's try that one more time. So take an inhale and an exhale. Letting go. And on your next inhale, tense all those muscles. See if there's somewhere else in your body you didn't squeeze last time. Maybe your belly button, maybe your toes. Squeeze, 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 squeeze. And then on an exhale, releasing to the floor. Great. Now allow those fingertips to float up, bending the knees, planting the feet. We'll grab a hold of those knees just for a moment, just a gentle pull of those knees towards the chest. And it doesn't have to be a deep squeeze here. Go ahead and rock a little bit if that feels good. And the hands are simply resting on those kneecaps. They're not pulling at all. And then thinking about those hands simply resting, we're going to take those knees in the clockwise direction. So just some little circles. What you might start to feel is the back of the pelvis, a little bit of the low back, getting a bit of a massage. If there's any little sticky point in any spot, go ahead and go slow through there or hang out there for a minute or two just to see if you can sort of give that area some attention. So going clockwise, and then we'll go the opposite direction. So counterclockwise. Again, the hands aren't pulling. That movement will come from the legs and the pelvis. The hands are just going along for the ride. And it might feel different going the opposite direction. Good, and then come to pause. Now go ahead and give yourself a little deeper hug. So grabbing onto the shins or the backs of the thighs, pulling those knees in towards the chest as much as you can. And then while keeping those knees in tight, I'll get you to roll over to one side of your body. So just slowly let the legs fall over, let the head be supported with the arms, and then we'll push ourselves all the way up to a seated position. So in the seated position, we'll come to a cross-legged, and if you need something to sit on, your towel or your block or blanket or something, go ahead. That simply is going to lift those hips up and allow that pelvis to tip forward a little bit. So we'll just come to that comfortable cross-legged, as comfortable your cross-legged position. Good. Sitting up nice and tall. Just take a moment to see if you can feel a little bit of a lift up the midline of the body, all the way from the pelvis up. And as we get to those shoulders, drop those shoulders down. Just taking a moment to ground in. See if you can feel the bottom of your pelvis. So you may have heard of the sit bones before. It's the base of the pelvis. Just see if you can get those bony protrudents, we'll call them, at the bottom of the pelvis. See if you can find them there. If my pelvis was in reach, my model pelvis was in reach, I'd grab it, but well, that's what the heck. I'll grab it real quick. We're looking at trying to get the bottom of that pelvis to sit on right here, our sit bone right on the bottom. So hey, it's hard to see with the white background. But we want the base of that pelvis to sit. So really wanting to feel grounded so that you really feel solid in this position. Awesome. And then from here, we'll take our arms forward, press those hands away from you, and try to spread those shoulder blades apart. We'll do a couple of these actions. So press and then pull those shoulder blades back. So simply seeing if you can move the arms parallel to the floor as we use those shoulder blades to squeeze back and then forward. Excellent. Connecting our thumbs now, come to that neutral position. So bring them to touch if you can, and then see if you can lift those arms up, and they don't have to come all the way up. Just go to where it feels comfortable and then back down to shoulder height. So try that a couple times. Just see what starts to happen. If you feel sort of the ribs starting to press forward, or if you feel like almost one shoulder stopping before the other, just let the shoulders work together. So whichever one needs to stop, just acknowledge it and go ahead and let that happen. Great. One more time. And then from here, let's open those arms out to the side. We'll go palms facing down and then rotate. Think of it coming from that shoulder joint. Rotate and open the hands up, almost like you're holding two cocktail beverages in your hands, way out away from your body. Now, unfortunately, we're going to spill them. So now let's flip those hands over. Palms are going to be down. And then all of a sudden they magically appear again. Palms come up and down. You can decide what beverage is in your hand because you're going to lose it every time you flip your arms over. So maybe it's one you don't enjoy. Good. Couple more times. Rotation. Feeling that shoulder joint working. Try to keep soft through the neck. The neck is not what's working, it's the shoulders. Feel a little bit more tension there. Release that tension and then allow those fingertips to float down, palms facing down, just let them drop. Excellent. Taking our right hand onto our left thigh. Let's take our left hand and put it in the small of our back. So we're not touching the ground with the hand, it's just in the small of the back. Sit up nice and tall, press into those sit bones. And then as you exhale, rotate from that belly button over towards your left. Twist, twist, twist. First twist of the day. No need to use those arms. Use that belly to draw that left shoulder back behind you. If it feels good in your neck, you're welcome to look over the left shoulder. Good. Really ground through those sit bones. Are they still supporting you? Good. And then slowly unwind. Taking the left hand to right thigh. Right hand back behind. Sit up nice and tall. And as you exhale, rotate from mid-belly. Then that chest starts to open. Potentially the shoulders open up. Not using those arms, and if you can, if it feels good, allow that gaze to come over the right shoulder. Sitting tall. One more breath here, and then slowly unwind yourself. Take those fingertips and dive forward, seated forward fold. You might want to walk with the fingertips as opposed to the palms, and then just see where you can wiggle yourself in. How far forward can you go this morning? If it feels good, keep those elbows off the floor, or if you want, you can drop those elbows down, forearms down on the ground, palms on the ground. Think that tailbone pressing back and away, and the crown of the head coming forward in front of you. Walk those hands now over to the right, whether you're tented up or forearms down. We'll switch over to that right knee, trying to get that torso to just graze the top of the right thigh. Good. And then allow those hands to walk over back to center. Pause for a moment. See if you can get a little bit more space. And then we'll walk over to the left. Sinking that torso towards the thigh. And again, each side of our body is going to feel a little different. So you might feel a bit more tension, or I've been using the word stickiness, like it just kind of doesn't want to glide and slide very well. So just give it time. Breathe into those spaces. And then walk those fingertips back. Pause here. And then just see, can those hands go a little bit further forward? Pressing those sit bones down, tailbone back, allowing that head to release, release, release. Really long stretch through the spine. Good, and then walk those fingertips up. Taking those arms back out to the side, palms facing down. Palms facing up. Let those hands come all the way up and to kiss those fingertips and press those hands together. Now shoulders, depending on how your shoulders are feeling, if this doesn't feel good, you can always keep your hands here on the shoulders. So just feel that out. Your hands might be slightly forward, just depending on how those shoulders are feeling. They don't have to be directly above the head. That can be quite challenging. So just sort of play with it. Where does it feel good? How can we listen to our body so it can tell us what we need today? So from here, sit up nice and tall, and then we'll slowly tip over to the right. Again, this is totally an option. Good. Finding length through that side body, all the way down that left side. Try not to collapse too far into the right. So really think about long spine. And then slowly coming back up, reaching up that torso nice and tall. And if your hands are above you, you might reach those hands up for a moment, then sink those shoulders back down and all the way over to the left. Now, one side could prefer hands down versus the other. Again, listen. What's your body telling you? Heavy through the right hip. Keep that right hip down. Opening up the right side body and then lifting up, bringing those hands all the way up to the ceiling as best you can. If they're on your shoulders, maybe think about bringing those elbows up. Just trying to think of a nice long body. Good. And then allow the hands to open and just allow those fingertips to float down. Fantastic. So if you're sitting on something, go ahead and remove it. We're going to come up onto our hands and knees. So again, positioning ourselves so that our wrists are under our elbows are under our shoulders, knees underneath the hips, and then feet are an extension out from those knees. So they're not coming in toward each other, they're actually out. So take a quick glance. As long as you can't see your feet, you're in a good spot. From here, really press down through those fingertips, press down onto the shoelace side of your foot, press down. Feel the connection to your mat. And then from here, if you can imagine the movement that we did in the shoulders, we want to think about pressing those hands into the ground and lifting our torso up. So we're pressing our arms away from us, shoulder blades come apart, and then allow those shoulders to sink. Shoulder blades come together, chest comes down towards the mat. So the movement is very small. The arms stay straight with a slight bend in those elbows, but we're moving that arm bone in that shoulder socket and allowing those shoulder blades to glide and slide across our rib cage. So finding sort of a movement that's quite precise, but not too serious. Good. Keep your breath. So as those arms go away, you smooth the skin of your back. And as those shoulder blades come together, you get some little nice wrinkles through those shoulder blades. Good. Take it one more time. Really bringing openness through those shoulder joints. Now come back to what sort of feels normal. Go ahead and sort of weave a bit to see if you need to find the right spot. And from here, we'll shift our hips back, keeping our hands planted, not coming into a child's pose or anything, but just coming back and then coming forward. So almost like a rocking action, forward and back. So a little bit more of a generous stretch through those wrists and through the knees as we sit back, just seeing if we can get our heels and our bum connecting if possible. This is a wide stance with those legs as opposed to the child's poses. Typically, the feet are together. So that would be the main difference here for leg placement. Good. And then coming back up into tabletop, we'll come into that flex spine. So pull in that belly button, tuck that tail under, lift that back up, drop the chin, nose, and forehead down. So into that angry cat. From here, we're going to actually come back to those heels with our buttocks, keeping that real big round through our spine. Then coming all the way up to tabletop and then allowing that belly to relax, flip that tail up into our cow. So just adding a little bit more flexion into that spine, coming forward into that angry cat, tuck that tail under, scoop out that belly, drop that chin, nose, forehead. Now bring those heels back towards the buttocks, really rounded through that spine, coming back up to hands and knees, and then allow that cow to happen. Extending through the spine, lifting that head gently up. One more time, tuck that tail under, really round that tail down, really lifting through the spine. Press those heels back buttocks towards heels. Coming all the way back up, hands and knees. Allow that back tail to flip back. Drop that belly, pull that heart through those arms, and lift that chin up. Fantastic. One time now, just into a cat. We're not going to go back to those heels. Just round yourself out, releasing that back extension, tuck that chin in, and then come back into that neutral spine. Wonderful. From here, I'd like you to bring your feet and knees closer together, and then see if you can slowly come up onto your knees. So we'll come up onto the knees like so. Good. Now it's your choice. If you feel more stable here with your toes tucked, you're welcome to. I'll probably cue toes tucked shortly. But if you want, you can keep the shoelace side of your foot down and pressing into the mat. Awesome. Let those arms float up above your head. Again, listen to your body. If you need to be here, you're here. Arms up, bringing those hands together. Now, a little bit different here as we're in this kneeling position. We're going to come over to the right, but we really feel that we have to be heavy through the left side of the body as we come into that side bend. Lifting up and then almost over. Trying to keep the pressure on both knees equal. And I should have said, if you need some padding, please give yourself some padding under those knees. Lift yourself up, good, and then all the way over to the left. Seeing if you can keep those arms around the head. If not, that's okay. Just playing with it. The hands need to be apart, totally fine. They could also be here. Good, and then all the way up. Take those arms down to shoulder height, palms facing up. And then see if you can lift up out of your pelvis here a bit. So think about tall, 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 dropping the shoulders down. And then taking those hands and bringing them back behind you, clasping each other. So you need to rotate those hands to face each other, clasp those hands behind your back, and then let those hands glide down the backside of your pelvis, your buttocks, to see if you can drop them right down. We're not going to lift them at this point, but we're going to let those arms come down. Really feel sort of this dropping of those shoulders, maybe a bit of opening up through the chest. Good. Keep those hips pressed forward. Tuck toes or not, that's fine. Good. And then release those hands, allow them to float back up, palms facing up towards the ceiling. Good. Then allow those hands to come back down. This is where you have the opportunity as we drop down to also lift up. So this is the chest opening version, allowing that chest to open a bit more. Squeeze those shoulder blades together as best you can, just like we did in that tabletop and seated position of squeezing those shoulder blades together and lifting those arms up. Very strong position. A lot of heat being generated, a lot of openness through the chest. Good. And then lower those arms down. Take those fingertips down the sides of the thighs and just drop them down towards the knees as best you can, actively trying to get those shoulder blades down. Great. Taking our right leg, we're going to step it forward and we'll bring our hands down towards the ground. Now, if you can, this is a good time to tuck those toes under on the back leg. You can adjust where that knee is. You might want to wiggle that leg back into a low lunge. Knee can be on the ground, or knee can come up off the ground. So you decide, play with it with your own body, see what feels good. Front hip is going to come back, while the back hip is going to come forward. So try to square your hips so that they're parallel to each other. Try not to open too wide. Think about that. Then dropping your left hand to the ground, you're going to let your right fingertips come up and spiral, allowing you to come into a twist, into this low lunge. Again, knee can be down or up. You decide. Gaze forward, or gaze can look up towards those right fingertips. Keep pulling those hips, one hip coming back, front hip coming back. Back hip coming forward. Allow that hand to come down to frame the foot. Drop that knee down for a moment. Come back to that high kneel position. And then allow the left leg to come forward. Framing that knee with your hands. Again, knee can stay down, but if you need to adjust it, tuck the toe, wiggle it back a bit, and come back to that deeper lunge, or keep your knee lifted in that low lunge position. So that right hip's coming back, that back hip, that right hip coming forward. Try to square those hips as best you can. Then planting your right hand, letting those left fingertips come up, spiraling around the spine, low lunge twist, opening up. Gaze can be forward. Gaze can be up towards that hand. Feel the heat in your body. Keep the middle in the middle and keep breathing. Good. And then slowly let those left fingertips come down. Drop that back knee down. And then from here, we'll power up that back knee or back leg and bring ourselves up to a forward fold. So think about a dynamic movement to allow the legs to come back together in this standing forward fold. Let the head go. Let those arms go. Release. If it feels good, you can grab opposite elbows with opposite hands. Really feeling a nice long stretch through the back. Connect to your toes. Connect to your heels. Coming to standing, place your hands on those shins and walk yourself all the way up. Take a couple shoulder rolls as you come up to that standing position. And then take a look at your feet for a moment. Just see what they're doing. Are they parallel to each other? Are they right under your hips? Do you have a narrow stance or a wide stance? You might need to play with it with this next position. So taking our right foot, bring the heel down into the ground, lift the toes, and then open that foot out so it's at the angle of probably the corner of your yoga mat, your short end of your yoga mat. So you've essentially taken your feet and opened it out to the side. So we've opened the hip on the right side. From here, step back with that leg and maintain that rotation. And where do you land? Into warrior one. So see if you can place the hands on the pelvis and just see if you can rotate that pelvis so it's parallel to each other. So both hips are sitting beside each other. We're not open wide right here. So into that warrior one. If it feels unstable, go ahead and walk that front leg out slightly so you can make it a little wider to feel a little bit more stability. Good. Then from here, we've got ourselves all set up. We're going to open up into our warrior two. So open up that, almost like your pelvis is a book and you're opening it up to the long end of your mat. So your front foot is still facing forward. Your back leg is opened up into that side angle. And if you want to glance down at your feet, potentially your heel of your front foot is in line with the arch of your back foot. It could be. It doesn't have to be, but it could be. From here, we're sinking down further into that front knee, hands on the pelvis. Good. And then let's straighten that knee. Bend into that front knee, press through the pinky side toe of your back foot and straightening. Good. Coming down and coming up. Let's add those arms. So as we sink down, bring those hands up to shoulder height and bring them down as you straighten that leg. Sink down, lift the arms up and straighten, drop the arms down. One more time into a nice hold. Sink down into that warrior two. This time, if you're not looking already, take a gaze over top of that middle finger on the front arm. Sink down. But as you sink down, engage those inner thighs so that they're lifting you up simultaneously. So it's a downward motion, but still an inward motion with those thighs. Good. Keep breathing. And then straighten that leg. Lower those arms. Thinking about stepping forward again, we're going to take a big step, bringing both feet back together parallel. Go ahead and walk those legs out a little bit. Now, since I'm imagining facing backwards to you, I'm just going to move myself to the other side. You don't have to move, but I just want to be able to face you. So I've shifted to the other side of the mat. So going back, feet parallel. That other leg now, we're going to bring that foot out. So that would be lifting into the left heel, toes up, bringing that left foot up the angle. Then we'll step back with that leg, the left leg, into this warrior one position. Take a moment to get those hips in place. So mine have opened up tremendously. Think about squaring them forward to that short end of the mat potentially. Finding that warrior one. Position yourself. Might be a shorter stance. And then as we move into warrior two, that's where that foot might need to come back a little bit. As you open that pelvis up, open it up like a book and sink down. Take a look at those feet. Maybe that heel of that front foot is in line with the arch of the other. Maybe, maybe not. And then sink down into that bent knee. Trying your best to keep that knee stacked over that ankle. Good, and then straighten it out. Here we go, down we go. Coming back up. Down we go. So hopefully it makes sense that as you sink down, you're pressing your pelvis down, but you're trying to engage those inner thighs, almost like they're trying to come together, but they're not at all. But you're actively trying to get that support through those inner thighs. Good, let's add those arms. So as we sink down, arms come up to shoulder height. Good, straighten that leg, lower the arms. Really isolating the strength of that front leg. Sink down, lift up. Good. Another dynamic one, and as we finish this dynamic one, we'll move into our hold. So see how strong that front leg can be as you sink down, lift through that center line of the body, take that gaze over that front middle finger. Sink down, press through the pinky side toe of that back leg. Good work, feel the strength. Middle in the middle, stay strong, connect to your breath. What is your breath telling you? And then straighten that leg, lower that arm, and step back up to the front of your mat. Good job. Just give those legs a little bit of a shake out. Whew. A lot of warrior two today. So coming back to that first side, I'll switch sides of my mat. That angle of the foot, open that hip up, open that foot up, step back, and right away we're going to come into that warrior two. Here we are. So just play with it for a moment. See where it feels good in your body. Thinking about that pelvis facing forward. Leg bone, front leg bone is open and toes facing forward. Press through that back heel. Let those fingertips float up. Holding that warrior two now. Gaze over the middle finger. Now from here, flip the palm. So the palm has your beverage in it. Now you're holding that beverage out. You're going to lean forward and try to serve it to someone. I don't know why you'd give away your drink, but maybe you would. And then from here, sweep those fingertips up and over, back hand onto back leg. Here's our exalted warrior. Really feeling a nice long lengthen through the side of the body. Sink down as you can, but engage those inner thighs. Good. And then allow those arms to come back up to warrior two. Awesome. Lower those hands down. Instead of stepping to the front of the mat, we're going to lift the toes up on that front leg. Rotate, rotate, rotate. So now both feet are parallel to one another. Awesome. Give those hips a little side shake, side to side. Good. And then from here, swim those fingertips back behind you. So if it feels good for you to clasp the hands together, go for it. Drop those hands down. If that didn't feel awesome for your shoulders, then palms of the hands can come into the low back or the buttocks. So you decide. This one's, I find a little bit trickier when we clasp the hands. So see what feels good in your body in this wide-legged position. And then from here, press those hands down, allowing that chest to open up. And maybe, just maybe, those arms float up behind you. So side view here, lifting, 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 squeezing those shoulder blades together and trying hard not to let those ribs flare out. Good. Lower those arms. Release those arms, and let's take some focus back to those legs. So open the front leg. So press the heel, lift the toes of that other leg. We're going into, this would be my left leg if I'm facing you, and then allowing that foot to come down. I think potentially it might be the right leg on your side. We'll see. Whichever leg you have not done, please do it. We'll sink into that warrior two for a moment. Good. Find that position that feels good in your body. Heel in line with the arch potentially. Then let those arms float up. Warrior two, sink down. Take that gaze over top of that middle finger of that front arm. Press down through the pinky side of that back leg. Really activate that foot. It's there to support you. Good. Now flip that palm up. Here's your beverage again. Your choice of beverage. You're leaning forward to give it to someone, and then you quickly say, forget it, I'm going to take it to myself. So go ahead and arch back into that exalted warrior. Sink down through that front knee if you can. Gaze up towards the ceiling. Lengthen through the body. Try to think about both sides being long. Try not to fall into that back side. Good. Reach those fingertips up, up, up. Coming back into our warrior two for one more moment. Drop those hands, straighten that knee, lift those toes, and come back to that wide-legged stance. Good job. Go ahead and just shake those hips from side to side. Might feel good to do a bit more of a rotation. That works too. And if you feel like your wide-legged stance is a bit too wide, go ahead and heel toe yourself just a little bit more narrow. It just seemed like in my body, I was a bit too wide. So if you need to, go ahead. Now just rock yourself forward and back on those heels and toes. Getting a little bit more of awareness into those toes. Good. And then from there, take the feet so that they're angled out. So they're not parallel to each other. We're almost like duck feet a bit. Watching that our knees are going to start tracking over those heels and then the midfoot and then to the toes. We're going to sit down. Sit down. So take a glance at those knees. Make sure they're coming out. Awesome. Hands can come to the hips. Sink down. Good. Now, lift the heel of the right foot. Press those toes in, lift that heel up. Drop that heel down. Lift the heel, left side. Drop it down. Strong through the middle, strong through the core. Stand tall. Left heel. Oops, I did the wrong one. Right heel, sorry. Or left. Alternating those heel lifts. Here we go. Alternate. Strong through those legs. You got this. One more on each side. Good job. And then bonus, can we do both at the same time? Lifting up on those heels. Keep down in that low squat if you can for 3, 2, 1. Drop those heels. Straighten those legs. Whew. Just give those hips a shake out and we'll step those legs together. So step together and just give them a bit of a shake. Whew, I felt the heat on that one. Excellent. Coming to a nice, strong mountain pose. Just take a pause here. Releasing the hands, connecting to your breath, allowing yourself to soften. And then peel the heel up of the right foot. Peel it up. Lift that leg up, parallel to the floor. Trying hard to keep that pelvis stable. Good. If If you need to hold on to something, please do. Taking that gaze, it's called our drishti in yoga, a focus, a point of focus. And then see if you can bring the ankle of the right foot to the left thigh. So open up that leg and then see if you can bring the ankle, almost like that figure 4 position. See if you can get that there. Woo. And then take those hands to heart center, press the thumbs into the breastbone. And then if it's available to you, you might want to start to sink back into a little bit of a squat, intensifying that stretch in that figure 4 position. Wobbling's good. Catch yourself. Here's your focus. Back to your breath. Slowly come back to standing if you can, slow and controlled. Allow that ankle to release, coming back so thigh is parallel to the floor, still in the balance. Yes, we are. Kick that leg forward and slowly, slowly drop it down. Good work. Go ahead and walk it out for a moment. Release those arms. And we'll come to the other side. Peeling the heel up on the left side, lifting it up. Ground really strong through that right leg. Lifting that left leg up. Ooh. And balance. Every day is a little different with balance. Rotate that left hip and place that left ankle onto the right thigh. Use support if you need to. Hands come to the heart. Feel that heart beating underneath those thumbs. And if it's available to you, sit back. Getting a little deeper stretch through that hip. Awesome focus. Good work. Big toe pressing into the ground, little toe pressing into the ground, heel pressing into the ground. Strong and balanced. Good. Start standing up. Release the ankle from the thigh. Kick that leg straight and slowly lower it down. Good work. Shake out those legs, shake out those arms, and come to the top of your mat. Coming here, we'll go one more time with those arms, a back bend this time instead of just a chest opener. So pull those hands back behind you. Grasp those hands if you want to take that grasp position or hands in the low back. Coming into our strong chest opener and back bend, really strong through those legs. Lift up through the legs as you slowly allow that chest to come forward. Pressing forward, squeezing those shoulder blades together. Looking up, letting those hands graze down the back of the body. Ribs are open, chest is open, shoulders roll back, chin slightly tucked. Press the front of your hip forward. Think about there being a wall in front of your hips, and you're pressing actively into that solid wall in front of you. Good. And then as you're ready, allow yourself to come slowly up, stacking one vertebra on top of the other. Release those hands to the front where the hip creases are and slowly hinge forward. Bend generously through those hips as you come forward. Allow the torso to reach those thighs and then plant those hands maybe on the shins, maybe on the ankles, maybe on the tops of the feet, wherever it feels good, or maybe the ground. And just let the head go, dropping it down to the ground. Release. Maybe shake your head, yes and no. Just trying to release any of your tension that's in that neck. Good. Now from here, if you can, straighten those knees just a tiny bit, but without losing the connection between the thigh and the torso. So see if you can straighten them a little bit and then bend them again and then straighten them again. See what's happening. Can you lift your sit bones all the way up to the sky? Try one more time, bending those knees and then lifting up. Lifting up, and then you might just start to feel a slight more of a forward fold in your body. Just playing with those hamstrings, giving them a little break and then putting them to task again. Good. Then really bending those knees, planting those hands and stepping back into a tabletop position. So come to a nice tabletop here. Press those two big toes together and take those knees nice and wide. Allow yourself to sort of hinge forward and back a couple times in this wide-legged position. And then as you're ready, sink those hips and buttocks back, reaching into a nice extended child's pose with our wide legs. So dropping that head down, you may want to stack hand on hand. That might feel better. Still extended because those arms are up towards the head. Or you might even have the full long arms, forehead touches the ground. If it doesn't touch the ground, you can always grab a towel or blanket, always trying to find the wall or the floor and your body to connect so that you have that support. Only when we're at the wall do we get the wall as our support. Good. Sink into that position. Press those hips back. Connect back to your breath. Good. And then slowly walk those hands underneath you. Come back to that tabletop position. We'll still keep our legs nice and wide with our feet, our two big toes connecting. From here, plant your right hand right underneath your nose. So see if you can find that position, slight bend in that elbow, taking those left fingertips up and opening. We did this already today, a nice open twist, but in that low lunge. So a little bit different, a little bit softer in this hands and knees position, keeping those shoulders down, space through the neck, nice long neck. Don't let the head drop. Good, and then slowly come down with that arm, placing the left hand now underneath the nose. So shift who's underneath the nose, soft bend through that elbow, then allow the right arm to come up to a nice spiral position. Good. Again, strong through the neck, try not to let it drop. And then slowly bring that arm back down. Release those big toes and just come into an actual tabletop position. From here, bring your forearms down and try to make a triangle with your arms. So clasp the hands together, pinky side of the finger pressing into the mat. You've got your forearms as the two sides of your triangle, and then an imaginary base of the triangle between the two elbows. So try to find that position, really strong position in that upper body that's going to be able to support you. From here, take a glance at your shoulder and just make sure it's over top of the elbow. So we have this nice line here. If you feel like you're too far back, really come forward and stack that shoulder over top of the elbow. You're probably there already, but just a little tidbit because you may have shifted. Okay, so that's where we're going to make the movement, is in that shoulder. Press down through those hands, press down through the forearms. We're going to allow the buttocks to come back towards the heel as we let that shoulder come forward. And I shouldn't say shoulder, it's actually your arms forward. And then come over the arm and feel that arm go back. So the movement is sort of like a bit of a pendulum in a way, but only for the upper arm bones. So we'll go forward and back, trying not to let the hips be the driver. Let the arms be the driver. So the hips and lower body are just along for this movement. It's coming from the arms. So pressing into the floor, allowing yourself to move forward and back through those arms. Beautiful. Then come back to that starting position, shoulder over elbow. Tuck the toes under this time. And then see as you press those forearms down, lift those knees up off the ground. So kind of like a tabletop plank with our arms down on the ground. So sort of a forearm plank in the tabletop position. That might be a better way to describe it. Hold it there, feel a little bit of a shake, middle in the middle, and breathe. Press through that pinky side of both of your hands. You've got this. Hold it here for 3, 2, and 1. Release those knees down. Release those feet and give them a little bit of a tap. So just tapping the tops of the feet. One more challenge here today for our core and our shoulders. You call the shots if you want to try this. It's very important that you stay truthful to yourself. So what is true for you? What of these versions is best for you? I'm going to show you the final sort of progression or option. So tuck the toes under, forearms press down into the ground. They continue to press. Knees come up off the ground. And then you also move those arms, upper arms moving forward and back, forward and back. So our point of contact is our toes, our elbows, forearms, and sides of our hands. Middle needs to be strong to get you through this movement. Strong through those shoulders as well. If you want to try or stay on those knees and simply move forward and back, or just into the stationary tabletop forearm plank, you decide. Finish up here a couple more times. Long through the neck. And release. Drop the knees, untuck those toes. Go ahead and take the hands now to the mat and wiggle yourself back so you can come all the way down onto your tummy. Come all the way down. Drop those hands. Forehead can come to the hands and just relax for a moment. Great, great job. Soften through the shoulders. Connect back to your breath. Feel the weight of your pelvis and your pubic bone down into the ground. So feel that heaviness. Tops of the feet pressing into the ground. Or simply feeling the weight of the feet anchoring you to the floor. Then release the forehead to the floor, moving those hands out of the way if you can, and just bring the hands down to the sides, palms facing the ground. And taking now our gaze, we're going to rotate our head, nose comes to the side, bringing our cheekbone down to the floor. So sort of see if you can get your ear to listen. And then slowly release that ear, then your cheekbone. Allow the nose to graze through the middle line, and then coming all the way over to the other side. Cheek, ear, soften through the shoulders. No need to force, no need to try to twist too far. Let your body tell you what it needs. And slowly lift that ear up, roll into that chin, nose come back to the middle. Bring the hands underneath the shoulders and press yourself all the way back into a nice long child's pose. So hips back, back, back towards the heels. Press those hands forward. The hands can also be stacked or fists can be stacked in this child's pose, or even holding your head with your hands. Lots of options, whatever is the best one for you to finish up your practice. Then walk those hands slightly forward, lifting the hips up. Just allow those legs to come out to the side and then come all the way down onto your back. So however you want to get there, just come all the way down to the floor. Laying down, allowing the head to connect, the back of the pelvis to touch maybe the bottoms of the feet if it feels better to have your knees bent, or if you want to straighten those legs out. Any final little wiggle or movement that you feel you need, please take it now. If you still need maybe a nice long body stretch, or potentially knees to chest might feel good just before you land, or maybe you're just completely ready to release to the floor. Listen for your breath. Let your breath tell you its story. Inhale and exhale. Inhale and exhale. With every exhale, let go just a little bit more. Your mind blocks the free flow of life by saying, "This is how things must and should be." Letting go releases you from this insistent grip, and when you let go, new forms of reality can enter. Deepak Chopra. Allowing your exhalation to release and let go one more time. And now slowly bringing yourself back, taking your thumb and pointer finger together, just taking little connections and rotations with the pointer finger. Now connect the thumb and the middle finger, thumb and the ring finger, thumb and the pinky finger. Finding those little connections. Now maybe start wiggling those toes. Might feel good to rotate the ankles or wrists. And then as you're ready, slowly press yourself onto your side, taking this opportunity to take a couple more nourishing breaths before coming into seated. And taking those hands, reaching them all the way up, taking in as much good energy as you need for today and the week. And as you exhale, bring those hands down to the heart center, placing those thumbs on that breastbone, feeling all the goodness inside you. Slowly bowing your head in gratitude to yourself, to allow yourself to find space and ease, and maybe letting go anything you no longer need. The light in me sees the light in all of you. Namaste.